Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Bruce Rank Day 302. Today I started out with some jumps inspired by something I'd seen Blaine McConnell try out on Instagram, I believe, with a broad jump to a box jump. Usually they do it on over a hurdle, but because I don't have a hurdle, I just want to do a box jump. I don't think it's that reasonable for me to try to jump over the whole box like 90 centimeters. If I put it at like 60 centimeters, I think it would be doable, but at least like 90 centimeters, it's a pretty big ask, I think. Um, but I feel alright. Honestly, it looks better than it was. I think. Um, I still feel on a couple early reps, I did like 15 overall, so a lot of jumps. But on the early reps, I feel the thing on my knees and start to go away a little bit. I mean, it's definitely quadriceps and obviously. I also feel it as I go down during these dynamic effort, pause SSB squats, where I did 12 sets of 2 reps. So a lot of sets every minute on the minute. Um, but yeah, that's how dynamic effort is done on Westside, where you are basically working with low rest to build up some like lactic acid, etc. Like build a bit of like conditioning, ability to perform more work, um, and then with low rest, and then just maximum power. So it's not necessarily perfect form and technique work because you are producing more force than you would be able to otherwise. Um, because you're producing as much force as you would with um with lighter weight, but it's also not as fatiguing, obviously, as doing singles because well you're not pushing yourself to the absolute limit. But again, yeah, when you're producing a lot of force, like a lot of people get this wrong, they think that oh it's just like doubles with in this case in the first week 65% of your 1 rep max, then it must definitely be just technique work, right? Like it's not demanding at all. But no, it's not technique work. If it were technique work, I would work with this weight and do use a slower tempo to proactively produce less force and make sure I'm going totally upright on the way up. My knees are not shooting back at all. It's hard to avoid when you're working with the absolute maximum velocity that you can possibly have. But the good thing about doing dynamic effort work and it not being as fatiguing is that it will show mistakes that you're also going to make when you are getting up to your 1 rep maxes or just hitting close to failure on a lift. Because there again, by producing the maximum force you are able to with that weight or that rep, um, and it's gonna show how your mistakes are gonna look when you begin to train like that heavy. So that is something I really like about dynamic effort reps. If it were to be done exactly the way Westside training would would describe it in their books, you would have to use bands, which would add an average of 25% throughout the range of motion. Which for me, if I were using 130 kg here, it would have to add 32.5 kg, I believe. So with my bands, with the bands I have throughout the range of motion, they can only add like what, like 25 kg, I believe, throughout the range of motion on average. So it's not really that much. Oh well, I mean, 25. It's 25% of the max, so I would be using 50%. So it actually needs to add 50 kg. Like I don't have bands that are capable of doing so. I would have to buy more bands, which I will probably do. Like I have some bands, but I don't have like ones I think that are like really good for using on barbells. They're like really like wide, thick bands. But yeah, the reason you would use bands is just to really force you to accelerate through the whole range of motion of the exercise because the band obviously makes the exercise harder and harder and levels like evens out the resistance curve where it usually gets a lot easier towards the top of the movement. With the bands, it begins to get harder and evens out the resistance curve while being easier at the bottom where you are strongest. So for the next week, it's gonna be 10 sets of two with 140 kg post, and then it's gonna be 8 sets of two with 150 kilo post a week after that. So it does get quite heavy, like 8 sets of two with 150, like 75% of your max with only like 40 seconds in between. That is not a lot of rest. So it's probably going to be quite demanding despite it being dynamic effort work. And there might be a little drop off in volume, but as long as you can stay above the threshold, which is like 1.2 meter per second, you're gonna be golden. But yeah, guys, that is all. I'm sorry I didn't talk about any other part of the workout, but I'm probably going to talk about that, the ideas behind that, and the pull-ups in the next week's video. That is all, and I'll see you all. Bye bye.